The Institutes of the Christian Religion by John Calvin, Book 1, Chapter 13, Section 9, The Deity of Christ in the Old Testament. Further, I do not yet touch upon the person of the mediator, but postpone it until we reach the treatment of redemption. Despite this, because it ought to be agreed among all that Christ is the Word endued with flesh, the testimonies affirming Christ's deity are suitably included here. Though it is said in Psalms chapter 45, O God, thy throne is everlasting and forever and ever. The Jews turned their backs and made the name Elohim fit also the angels and the highest powers. Yet nowhere in Scripture do we find a like passage, which raises up an eternal throne for a creature, nor indeed is he called simply God, but also the eternal ruler. Furthermore, this title is bestowed on no one without an addition, as when Moses is said to become as God to Pharaoh. Others read of Pharaoh in the genitive case, which is exceedingly silly. Indeed, I confess that what is remarkable for its singular excellence is often called divine, but from the context it is clear enough that such an interpretation here is hard and forced, and really does not make sense. But if their stubbornness does not yield, quite evidently Christ is brought forward by Isaiah both as God and as adorned with the highest power, which is the characteristic mark of the one God. This is, he says, the name by which they will call him, Mighty God, Father of the coming age, etc. The Jews also rail here, and thus invert the reading. This is the name by which the mighty God, Father of the coming age, shall call him, etc. Leaving to the Son only the title Prince of Peace. But to what purpose would so many titles be heaped up in this place to God the Father, since the intention of the prophet is to adorn Christ, with clear marks to build up our faith in him? Therefore there is no doubt that for the same reason he is now called Mighty God, as a little before he was called Emmanuel. Yet nothing clearer can be found than the passage of Jeremiah, that this will be the name by which the branch of David will be called, Yahweh, our righteousness. For since the Jews further teach that other names of God are nothing but titles, but that this one alone, Yahweh, which they speak of as ineffable, is a substantive to express his essence, we infer that the only Son is the eternal God, who elsewhere declares that he will not give his glory to another. The Jews indeed take refuge here, pointing out that Moses imposed this name upon the altar erected by him, and Ezekiel did so upon the new city of Jerusalem. But who does not see that the altar was built as a reminder that God was the exaltation of Moses, and that Jerusalem was not marked with God's name simply to testify to God's presence? For so does the prophet speak, the name of the city from that day shall be Yahweh is there. Indeed, Moses expresses himself in this way. He built an altar and called its name Yahweh, my exaltation. But more debate remains over another passage of Jeremiah, where this very formula is referred to Jerusalem in these words, This is the name by which they will call it, Yahweh, our righteousness. However, this testimony is so very far from obscuring the truth that we are defending, as rather to lend support to it. For whereas before he had witnessed that Christ was the true Yahweh, from whom righteousness comes, now he declares that the Church of God will be so clearly aware of this, that it is able to glory in the very name. Therefore in the former passage the source and cause of righteousness is set forth. In the latter the effect is added.